All right. Welcome, Dr. Siegel, to the Biohacker Babes. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's my honor to be here, and I am such a biohacker. So, what a cool place to land.
Yay!
Yes. I am beyond thrilled to have you on because I've actually been following you for several years. I came across your name about, oh my goodness, maybe it's three and a half years ago. My cat was diagnosed with lymphoma. And I went down the rabbit hole of researching. I found you. You actually live near my old home of Tampa, Florida. And I was like, I wish I could fly my cat to see you. But we're going to try and bring a lot about pet health to our audience today. So we're seeing a lot of health issues in pets. And it's like, I'm not an expert on this. That's why you're here. But it seems like it's a lot of the same things that humans are dealing with: chronic disease, obesity, cancer. And, our food supply in both humans and pets is getting worse. Our environment's getting more toxic. So I think there's a lot we need to know to help our pets. And people are misinformed. They're maybe just listening to their local vet's recommendation. They're not really sure what to do. So we're here to help educate and empower people because we love our babies. We would do anything for them. My two cats, Max and Nala, I love them to the moon and back. So I want to keep them healthy as long as possible. So to jump in, maybe you can share, why are we seeing this rise in health issues, especially cancer today in our pets?
Absolutely great place to start. And the most simple and easiest answer is the level of toxicity. So, there's three things that cause dis-ease. So, first of all, let me redefine there's no disease in the world. There is dis-ease. It means the body is not in balance. So, dis-ease, we're just not in balance. And the three major reasons why that will happen is toxicities, deficiencies. These are the deficiency in the essential nutrients that the body needs to do its job. So the body, this magnificent earth suit that we have, can manufacture almost everything it needs, minus these few central vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids. I think that's kind of ironic that the creator of the universe said, okay, I'm going to give you a whole lot of rope. How far are you going to hang yourself? And so we know that the soils that our food is growing on in today's modern age is nutrient depleted. There's not even a question about that anymore. So it's extremely important that we identify what those nutrient deficiencies are and we fix them. And then the toxicities, there's over 100,000 toxins that have been developed and released just since World War II, which is the 1940s. So we are bombarded. We have chemtrails being sprayed on our heads. We have glyphosate, now the most ubiquitous toxin in the world, being sprayed on all of our food. It's raining down through the skies. And then the third piece that leads to the dysfunction is a combination of the deficiency toxicity and mitochondrial dysfunction. So the mitochondria are what make the energy for our bodies to actually function. And there's trillions of them in our bodies, in the cells, and they are their own unique organism. They've learned to adapt to be part of us, but they are actually separate. And so they are the ones driving the energy and also the communication between themselves and the microbiome. So based on what they're detecting is happening in the environment through our sight, sound, hearing, taste, etc., how we're interpreting things, same with our pets, then certain genes are turned on and turned off in response to the epigenetics that's going on. So that is the nutshell: is deficiency of essential nutrients, an overwhelming amount of synthetic toxins, let alone regular toxins that the body just can't keep up with, and then mitochondrial dysfunction.
Mm, very similar to humans.
All of, yeah, everything that humans are dealing with, but at least we have agency to change our food or change our lifestyle. Our pets are really just under every
Mercy
move that
of
we
us.
decide for that. They are at our mercy.
Exactly.
Is that really why that they're suffering? Because they have the same issues, but they don't have agency to make the changes?
Well, I think that's a nice way to put it. It's that nobody wants to harm their pet. There's very, very few incidences of sickos out there that might do something, but the pet parent that loves their pet, that takes them to the veterinarian, these are their babies. We call them their fur babies because they really do consider them as part of the family and is another one of their children. So
Yeah.
they're not doing things intentionally, but we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. You guys are so awake. You know, that's, I guess, the term of the century. Are we awake? And that means, are you paying attention to what's happening around you and then owning it? By owning it, I mean, are you reading labels? Are you understanding? Are you getting the education to know what your body needs, let alone what your pet's bodies need? So I think step number one for people is get educated. You have to not sit back and go, oh, the government's going to protect me. No, it's not. And there's no savior going to ride in on a white horse that's going to take away and poof all the bad stuff. We as society, as humans, it's up to us to go inside of us, find our passion, our purpose, find our ability to own what's happening and make that change. So a little out of the wheelhouse where I'm sure we were supposed to go with this, but honestly, I think that's the biggest conversation right now, because planet Earth has less than 70 years to maintain life as we know it. We are killing our planet, and through carbon cycling, through toxins, through geoengineering and the weather, it's all of that is killing our planet. But we have the ability to make a difference. We just have to come together as a world, because there's trillions of us, and be able to say no. We're going to say no to toxic foods. We're going to say no to glyphosate. We're going to say no to genetically modified organisms. You know, we have that ability to do that, but so many people are either not wanting to take ownership, they're not wanting to get awake and realize they need to make a difference, or they just feel so overwhelmed they don't know where to start. So this podcast that I'm doing with you, I hope, is that beginning impetus to help people realize they just have to make one positive move forward. And when that's comfortable, they take the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And before long, we've made a massive impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I think nutrition is probably the first place we should all be starting, because I mean, my goal is to have my cats to be like full on biohackers at some point. They already love my PEMF and my red light therapy. Um,
Yeah.
but with nutrition, even like I have a master's in nutrition. I get human nutrition, but I look at pet labels and I'm like, I'm not really sure what that means. Crude protein and this percentage of this and grain free and organic. It's very confusing. So, and all of our pets are eating every day, right? I don't think our pets are fasting. So I think nutrition is the first place to start. So I don't know if it's easier to break it down into dogs versus cats. Like, what do we need to know as far as feeding them?
I'm going to take you a step back first before I answer that question for it to make
Okay.
sense. Because you said, where do we start? And really,
Okay.
the very first place is stop doing the things that are causing disease or dis-ease. And that includes nutrition. So
Okay.
there's 6 steps. You can download a free ebook at holistichealingvet.com, and it covers these 6 steps. So step number 1, stop doing the things that you're doing that are causing dis-ease. And nutrition is fundamental in there. That's step number 1. Stop feeding processed foods. Stop feeding these enzymatically dead, high carbohydrate kibble diets that are dehydrated, and literally they are fueling the dis-ease in our pets. What should they eat? They should eat their species appropriate diet. And I'm going to couch it that way because we just recently had a bird that came in and he had metabolic bone disease. His bones were literally breaking because his diet was not balanced in calcium and phosphorus. And so therefore he was pulling all that calcium out of his bones to feed the body and stabilize. And it literally, his bones just break. So a species appropriate diet that they would have eaten in the wild had we not intervened. So we know by definition that dogs are scavenger carnivores. So a carnivore eats meat. It eats another animal in the state that they killed it in. A scavenger carnivore are these dogs that over the years have adapted to stealing food from man's waste products. You know, when the caveman were out there and they were lighting a fire and whatever they didn't eat, or those scraps, you know, the wolves would come in and eat that. So that's a species appropriate diet, but it's not going to Publix and throwing a piece of meat down. So we want to have it balanced. Cats are obligate carnivores. They have literally no dietary requirement for carbohydrates. Any kibble diet, almost all canned food, pet food, has 40 to 60% carbohydrates. Now, it's so interesting that the pet food industry never lists carbohydrates on the label.
No.
Wonder why? Maybe because most people won't take the time to go calculate it and figure it out. But it's 100 minus all the other things that they list, and ash is going to be 3 to 5%, and the rest is going to be your carbohydrates. So it is exceedingly high. Even at 10% would be very high, but these diets are 40 to 60% carbohydrate, which equals sugar. And we all know sugar is bad for the body. It fuels all kinds of abnormal things, including inflammation, leaky gut. It taxes the pancreas, because now the pancreas is trying to keep up with all this increase in sugar, and it's trying to get rid of that sugar. So it, has to do something. It packs it into a fat cell. Why obesity is so high in our pets today. They're eating these high carbohydrate diets that are devoid of any enzymes. When you heat something over 105 degrees, it kills the enzymes that are in that food, which are what you're supposed to have to help digest that food. Because when we're eating, we're not just eating for pleasure. We're eating because that's what we're trying to get our sustenance from. When you digest your proteins, you're getting down to your amino acids. And when you're digesting your sugars, you're getting your simple sugars that are the fuel to run the body. So it's not just that you're eating for a purpose. But when we can't break that food down because we lack enzymes, because the food has been adulterated so tremendously that the quality of the protein just isn't there, we have a problem. And so that's really the first thing I hope pet parents take away from this, is becoming conscious of what you're feeding. And there is a myth out there, because a lot of people go, oh, you're talking about raw feeding, and that's bad. Well, it's actually not bad. It's what is species appropriate if it's done properly. So, for instance, I have a raw food line, and our food comes out of a USDA inspected facility. There are no pathogens in that food. It is human grade and it's ready for consumption. So the old fallacy that raw meat is dangerous for the pet, no, you're going to handle it properly. You're not going to leave it on the counter for a day or two, right? You're going to keep it frozen until you're ready to use it. You defrost it properly. You wash your hands, you wash your counters. You just do normal food handling like you would for yourself.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Okay.
So a balanced diet is meat, fat, bone, and organ meat in a proper ratio. And then from there, because of our nutrient depleted status, I believe we have to add the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids that body needs to actually do its job.
Mm. Is that a supplement that we
Yeah.
add in?
Yeah, this is an interesting story. So I approached a large pet food company that at the time was making raw food. And I said, I would love to support your company, but you use genetically modified meats and you use synthetic vitamins. Would you be willing to make one SKU, one line that meets my standards? And the company had just been sold to a new CEO. And the guy said to me, oh, Dr. Siegel, we so appreciate the fact that you move more raw food in the state of Florida than anybody else, but our company's moving in a different direction. And I said, oh, well, what direction is that? And he said, nothing. He didn't answer me. And so basically he said no, and they launched a kibble coated raw 4 months later. So now I realize where he was going. He was just going after dollars. He wasn't caring if animals were getting healthy or not. So that is what we call a species appropriate diet, and fed in the raw form. So the enzymes are still there. The nutrition's still there.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me, because I watch my dog and he doesn't chew his food, and probably not supposed to, because I didn't in the wild. So I can't speak to him like I speak to a client. Chew your food. So yes, it makes sense. If the enzymes are in the food, then he's just going to eat the way he's going to eat. But
so the reason why they don't chew food, this is a biological adaptation, because remember, nature doesn't do anything that wastes energy, ever, ever, ever. So in the wild, if a carnivore, i.e. your wild dog, they get hungry, they're going to go out hunting for food. When they find something, they have to chase it down, kill it, tear into the abdomen. They're making a lot of commotion when they're doing that. Who's going to hear all that commotion? but other carnivores, other scavenger carnivores. So by nature, they tear, gulp, chew, they tear, gulp, and swallow, and they stuff themselves with as much food as they can possibly get in before somebody comes around and tries to eat them or steal their dinner. And then they go back, lay down, and they digest. So that's how they were biologically designed to eat. So our pet owners go, oh my gosh, they ate the food and they didn't even take a breath, 3 seconds gone. And they seem like they're still hungry. But when we're feeding them every 12 hours, then we feed them to their metabolic need, not to satiety. Otherwise, even on a raw diet, they would be rotundo. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Ah,
That makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, I want to come back to the raw food, but I imagine even before we introduce the raw food, we have to fix the digestion. Otherwise, because their digestion's probably hurt from eating kibble. Or can you actually speak to the fresh food companies like a farmer's dog, which maybe is just as bad as the kibble? Can you speak to that?
Without bashing any company, I'm going to give you the benchmark to look for in your food. So number one, it should be meat, fat, bone, and organ meat as your major ingredients. I particularly do not put vegetables into my diet, and that's with intention. Number one, we don't know the quality of the vegetables. Do they even have the vitamins and minerals in them because they're grown on nutrient depleted soils, even if they're organically grown? So we don't know what they're getting out of that, and they weren't designed to digest those things. So it's not part of their composition. So I'd rather separate the macronutrients from the micronutrients. So in my company, we created all those essential nutrients in a separate form, because when you take and you put stuff into the food as it's being processed, A, it's denatured, B, it's not spread evenly through. So the amount of vitamin, mineral, and nutrients that the Chihuahua is getting may be very different than the one that the Great Dane is getting because they're eating a larger volume. So I separated my macro and micronutrients. Now I can dose my micronutrients based on metabolic need, like what's going on in that animal. If they're because I test. So I know when they're nutrient depleted because we're testing for that. So I can give an increased amount of nutrition through these supplements. And then we come back and we retest 2, 3, 4 months later, and we see, have we made the difference? And of course, we're changing the diet along the way as well. So So yes, to your question, even though I lay it out in 6 steps, number 1, stop doing the things that are causing disease. Number 2, supply the essential nutrients. And then number 3 is heal the leaky gut. But it's not like we're doing it in a bubble, right? We're doing this all at the same time, because as they're changing the diet, we're introducing the essential nutrients. Most of these animals go on digestive enzymes to aid in breaking down the food because they've just used up their pancreas by the age of 5. That's all they're using to digest with. And then after we get all of that settled in, we're also at the same time working on repairing the leaky gut. And we have a variety of different things that we can do for that. It's not totally catered to an individual need, but to a large degree it is. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, that was my next specific question. And I can just use my dog as an example. He's a very hungry boy, but he's a very picky eater. So I think he has digestive inflammation. So I'm like,
100%.
I can't just feed him more. I need to fix his digestion. How do I do that if he doesn't want to eat? So digestive enzymes, and maybe I think you use Zach Bush's product, Ion.
I do. Yeah.
Can you tell us about that in liquid so we can get them to drink it maybe before they eat it?
So the Ion Gut is the product that we're talking about, and it actually repairs the tight junctions. What holds the cells together are actin filaments. You don't need to remember that, but just imagine there's something holding that together. And when we are exposed to certain toxins, particularly glyphosate, it melts that junction and it comes apart. Now there's a gap, and things that are coming down the digestive tract that would have been filtered and not allowed to come into the body now are coming into the body, and then they go to the liver, where the liver sees that as foreign material and mounts an inflammatory response. So that's where the inflammation is coming from. So step 1, 2, and 3 is all about giving the body the things it needs, stop doing the things that are damaging it, and then heal that leaky gut. So we do a variety of different things, but Ion Gut is a staple for me. So it repairs actin filament, and leaves it better than it was before, which is really interesting. And
Yeah.
it's the way they made and it comes from dirt, but it literally, and it's these humic compounds that have been tweaked a little bit to last longer in the system.
Yeah.
Great
I'm a
for
big
humans,
great
great for
fan of,
pets.
yeah, I love that product. But here's the tricky part. I can't get my cats to consume it. If I put it in their water or their food, they will walk away.
Okay.
What's the trick?
Yeah, cats can be tricky, but know that the major problem there, the first big dash light that comes on is a picky eater. That's already telling you that there is a problem. So in my world, I don't just fix the gut, I also identify the toxicities and the nutrient deficiencies. So root cause, why are they not feeling good? Why don't they have a ravenous appetite? If we go and watch National Geographics and we watch a lion chase down, grab, kill an animal, I mean, they're tearing into it. They have a voracious appetite. But because we've adulterated the GI tract of these animals so dramatically, we need to fix all aspects of that to get them to go back to eating ravenously. And there's many factors. We talked about food, but it's also water. Are they drinking highly filtered, structured water? Do they need more antioxidants? We need to add hydrogen to the water. What cleaning products are people using? I know you guys would probably be very green and very good, but a lot of people are still using petroleum-based air handling stuff, things that they're burning in the house that are releasing toxins, and laundry soaps that are loaded with chemicals and xenoestrogens that are hormone disruptors. So we have so many other elements. And then let's add EMF in there, because electromagnetic frequencies may be as detrimental as everything else combined. So you have a picky eater, guys, and we're talking to the audience now. That is your first signal that there's something wrong. And just changing food and trying to find something that's going to be appealing to them is not the answer. It's find the underlying problems and then fix them.
Okay.
Makes sense. Get to the root cause of why.
Yeah. I mean, so when I put their food out, normally they scarf it down.
Okay.
Which sounds like that's fine. But as soon as I add the ion or carbon 60 or something, then they walk away. So in that case, you're saying there's still a root cause of why they're being funny about the change.
So ion doesn't have a taste. It's like really.
So how do they know it's in there?
Well, make sure you're not adding something else. So
yeah, I just do the ion by itself. Are they watching me? Are they that smart that they know?
I don't think so. Well, if worst comes to worst, you can always just take a syringe, an eyedropper, and you just dribble it in their cheek. So you lift the chin up,
okay.
that they're looking up, and then you put it in the commissure of the lip there, and then you just dribble it in and they drink it down. But it really doesn't have much of a taste. Now,
I can't taste anything.
Supplements, we never ever tell clients to put supplements that have any form of taste in them into the food, because exactly what you just described, they're going to walk away because they smell it, they taste it. The vitamins have a vitamin E taste. The amino acids are very sulfury. So if they're not used to that, then they could turn their nose up to that.
Okay.
So
that's super helpful.
Yeah. So for cats, it would be syringing it in is your easiest way to start while you're working on everything else. But you still want to have a good workup. And then when it comes to dogs and giving them medications, they're a lot more excited to eat. And so what make sure they're not snacking in between. Even ourselves and kids, you're not going to be that hungry for dinner if you've been snacking through the day. So we never recommend leaving food down 24/7, because it's just a bad way to feed. And if you're feeding raw, you wouldn't do that anyway. So right before it's time to eat, you get them really excited. You make it a game. You make little meatballs. Some of the meatballs have nothing in them. And then some of the meatballs may have a pill hidden in there. But once the dogs are used to just, they grab it and they gulp, then you can hide stuff in there and they'll just take it right down. If they're a good eater, they're a picky eater, then you're going to have to go back to the scratch board there and start syringing things in. And you can add bone broth to it. You can add kefir to it, things that are going to help improve the taste and make it a pleasurable experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
I know how that goes. The
That's fun.
game. I'm like, come on, buddy, come on, yeah. And it's like one too many. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
But it works temporarily. It
Yeah.
does. Okay, that's super helpful. I want to go through the lifestyle things one by one, starting with water. So
Okay.
we've talked about hydrogen actually for pets on the podcast, and I understand the benefit there. I'm curious about the ultra filtered water. Is there any disadvantage to completely removing minerals? So for myself, when I filter, I add minerals back in. I'm kind of concerned about my dog then not getting minerals. How do we add that back in?
Way back in the day, and I started learning about water, I thought, oh, reverse osmosis, it's great, it takes out everything, but it takes out everything. So that, and it's also not structured. So let me mention what structured water is for the audience. It is not the same water that comes out of your tap. That's H2O. The product that we're talking about that we call structured water is in the form of a gel. So it's the state that it's in, and there's an extra hydrogen and oxygen there. So the body makes structured water. When we drink unstructured water, in order for our body to use that water, it has to structure it, and then it can go into the cell through a little tiny aquaporin. It's a little hole in the cell. So now you have a water molecule that's unstructured. It's big, it's bulky, it's not going to fit into the hole. So it doesn't get into the cell. You remain cellularly dehydrated. But when you structure that water, it becomes a uniform size that miraculously fits into that aquaporin, and it can go right into the cell. That's also the phase of water that is making up our fascia. So if I were to make a small incision in my arm, not excluding the blood vessel that I cut, my tissue isn't oozing out, like pouring water out, because it's in that gel state. So this is a really important distinguishing feature that if I had to pick structured water over filtered water, I would pick structured water. But we want the best of both worlds. So by doing that, there are machines that you can use to structure water. There are machines that will filter the water very high degree, but leave the minerals. So the system that I use, I don't want to do name brands, but if anybody emails me, I can give you some suggestions. But you want to have it filtered all the way up to glyphosate and heavy metals. You want all that taken out, but we want to leave the minerals. And we want it to be structured so that our body doesn't have to use metabolic energy to structure that water. And then we become more hydrated, and our fascia has better communication going through it.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I sneak in one more question about the water real quick before my dog recently won't drink the filtered water. He wants to drink what's out of the tap, or he tries to go to the toilet. Is that him seeking minerals perhaps?
I think what they're seeking is running water, because when we watch cats,
Fresh.
every cat owner knows that they the faucet on, or there's running water, they like to go, or they'll take their foot in it and they'll move the water to make sure it's moving, because
The
desert.
Oh yeah.
And in the desert, you don't have a lot of water. So if you find water and it's not moving, biologically speaking, don't drink it. And so they instinctually know not to drink diseased water. And if it's moving, they know it's going to be healthier.
That's
So,
clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
what your dog may be doing is attracted to the sound and the movement of water. Every time you flush the toilet, they can hear that water going around and around. So that may be it. They do other things when they're looking for minerals, but definitely, I think minerals is going to be an issue if you're only using reverse osmosis on the dog.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to add the hydrogen piece in here while we're still on water?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Because I was actually
Okay.
going to ask. I have a new hydrogen water machine. I've just been using it, but I guess I could give it to my cats.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But why do we want to have hydrogen? Well, back in the day, our ancestors were able to eat enough antioxidant foods to meet the amount of free radicals that they were forming in their body. So just normal day-to-day living, breathing, moving, eating, working out, everything that we do creates some free radicals, and they are an OH minus. So when you're eating antioxidant foods, you're neutralizing that. You're donating a hydrogen molecule to each OH minus, hydrogen's positively charged. And when you take an H with an OH, it makes H2O. So that's pretty cool, right? So for all of our reduction of these oxidative free radicals, all that stress, we're making water, and that water's structured because your body just made it. But in today's modern age, we could not physically eat enough antioxidant foods to meet the amount of damage, free radical damage, that we're creating on a daily basis. The EMF, the credit card bills, the pandemics, whatever that is, it creates so much stress. And then, of course, we're getting sick and our pets are getting sick, and that adds another layer of stress to it all. And so we have to find another way to help increase the amount of antioxidant that we're provided to the body in a more economical form. And so using molecular hydrogen in the water is the ideal way. But the caveat is, it is, when it's made in a machine, it is a gas. And so it's going to dissipate out of that water in time. So 24 hours later, there's not going to be much hydrogen in there. When people buy this out water and they think they're doing something wonderful for themselves, they're really not. They're actually creating a little more stress on their body to deal with all of that alkalinity that they're drinking all day long. And what we're really wanting is the hydrogen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I can easily make that for them 2 or 3 times a day and put it in their bowl. So
that's perfect.
Great. Okay.
And a little water fountain, get a little water fountain, even for the dogs.
Yeah. I used to have one.
Yeah.
Do you sell that, or can you recommend a place to find it?
I would say I don't shop Amazon. So let me
I know, yeah, it's a little precarious.
I don't support any company that is supporting Mother Earth and the people on it. So that's just my disclaimer. So you can but you can look for products on Amazon, easy to shop it, just don't buy it from them. And something that has good ratings that people have 5 stars on. Because in Florida, we have really bad water. And even when I use my structured water into that, it would get these calcium deposits would build up and you're having to constantly clean it. So just find a company where they have good ratings.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was having something was building up in the water fountain I had. I think I ended up throwing it out. So
probably calcium. Yeah.
Okay.
Little stalagmites and stalactites.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to circle back to that for my babies. I want to go back to what you said about the deficiencies in testing. Is that something that you do just in your office, or those of us that are far from you, can we do that for our pets somehow?
Yes. If somebody contacts me, we can ship them the kit that they need to have. Some of it is done on hair, some of it is done on blood. So obviously the blood portion of it, they would have to get somebody to draw the blood. Most veterinarian offices would be willing to do that. And then you have your test kit. We even coach the doctors how to do it. And then we send it into a laboratory. And then I do the interpretation.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So you can totally do virtual, like a good amount of virtual with pets.
To some degree. So what I'm restricted to is health coaching. So when they take my empowered pet parent course, they become my coaching client. And anything that I teach in that course is part of the coaching. So I can help them find the deficiencies, the toxicities. I can give recommendations on things to help with the mitochondria, detoxification we haven't even got into yet, but we will. And I can do that. What I can't do without a client-patient relationship is be diagnosing cancer and giving protocols for how to treat things like that. So I need, if they're not patient of mine, I stick to the health coaching program, which you have to do to begin anything anyway. You never treat a cancer patient in isolation. We do all of those 6 steps before we really start implementing the cancer regimens, because if they can't detoxify and they don't have the nutrients to support the biochemical pathways, you're not going anywhere. You're just going to make the patient more sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, my poor Bella with her cancer, it was no fun. I honestly, I think 2 big things for her were stress and then the environmental toxins of we built a new home and within 9 months of living in the new construction and super stressful. So I have two cats. Well, I now have two again, but her and the other one, they were friends for 8 years, took naps together, played together, great friends, 8 years. And then something happened. My husband screamed and they fought like for everything was flying around and they could never be in the same room ever again. It was
Wow.
crazy. So I'm like, the stress that probably put on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some elements. It's not one thing. We know we have to look at the total
Yeah.
picture. And that's what holistic medicine means. So people think it's some kind of woo-woo thing that's new age. It's not. It means whole, W-H-O-L-E. You know, it's looking at the whole picture. What are you eating? What are you drinking? What's your environment like? What are you thinking? Oh my gosh, let's touch on that because I call it the ants in our brain. ANT, automatic negative thoughts. That is up there in the top 3 killers because what you're thinking creates neurotransmitters that are communicating with your biology. If you are thinking bad things, you're always afraid, you're always angry, you're always frustrated, you're a blamer shamer, if you just can't get past forgiveness for yourself and others, then you're staying in these low negative vibrations and you're creating neurotransmitters that are telling your body, your cells, that out there in the real world, it's bad deal out there. And it creates a syndrome called just went blank on the name. It's a stress syndrome where you get stuck in this it's called cell danger response mode.
CDR,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when you get stuck, and I don't think animals do it, but people do, they get stuck in that cell danger response mode. And no matter what they do, they can't heal because they can't get into a parasympathetic state to heal. Why that's important to our pets is when the pet parent is like that, they're affecting their pet who is in training to that energy. They're picking up those vibrations. And that pet doesn't know why the world is a bad place. They just knows that, hey, my mom and dad are all stressed out and there's something evil out there. So I got to be on high alert. And so it creates that sympathetic tone in our pets as well.
More reason for all of us to work on our stress and meditate and do all the things.
Yeah, but for the pets, it's hard for the, you're trying to meditate. Most people have a hard time with that. So I biohack that. I have a PEMF device that it's 2 copper coils and you sit in the middle of this like a halo dome or something. And then I can put frequencies that are all sympathetic, all parasympathetic, or some combinations depending on what I'm treating. And it's pretty remarkable how you can see things change and very, very quickly. Like animals don't hold on to their garbage. We do, but animals don't. So as soon as you get them in a parasympathetic state, they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I turn my PMF mat on, no matter where my cats are in the house, they're on that mat within 2 minutes. I'm like, and they love it. They lay on it as long as I keep it on.
Yeah. I mean, they're smart. They're intuitive. They know what feels good. And they know what doesn't feel good. I have a video of 2 snakes that came in one day and they were ADR. The owner had just bought these and had them shipped in and didn't think they were feeling good. And on physical exam, I couldn't find anything. He didn't want to do blood work. So I put them on one of my devices that is a vibration plate with like rife frequencies. And there's a little handheld part that concentrates the energy. And I put that over the top of their little plastic cages. And both snakes curled up underneath where the highest concentration of frequency was coming out. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I mean, they're snakes in there's a box like this, and they came right underneath where the cell exciter was. Yeah.
Wow.
So yes, they get it. And we do live blood studies. So I can tell exactly what we're doing to that 4th phase of water. We want it expanded. We want it to help separate the cells. And when we are inundated in all of this EMF and stress and toxins, that 4th phase of water collapses and the cells get sticky and they stick together. That's you can't function well there because the surface area of that red blood cell is what picks up oxygen and delivers it to the tissue. So imagine now you've got stuff packed all around it. So the amount of surface area that you're dealing with is really minimal. you need to get it expanded back out so it can actually pick up oxygen, deliver that to the tissue, pick up waste material, get rid of it out of the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have put my dog on my amp coil, which is a Tesla coil with sound frequencies amplified. I often forget about it. I feel like I just need to do it every day because he does respond really well to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing that I like to do, which is a no-brainer, is I work with a company that has, I'm wearing the pendant. This is the personal protection, and it is a particular stainless steel that has plasmonics as part of the natural part of the stainless steel. And in simple terms, light comes in, reflects off, and comes out as coherent light. Like I'm in a room right now with incandescent light bulbs, and so it's not a good frequency that I'm in. Plus our building has Wi-Fi in it, and we have towers, 5G towers around here. So all of that incoherent photon energy is disrupting our body. So I use devices that help to mitigate that. This is my personal protection one. I wear it all the time. And then we have light towers that are different sizes that you can put in your house. And even our small light tower goes out 1.5 miles of magnification on how it's actually treating and reconditioning the photons in that area. So it's changing your air, it's changing your water. We put our food on it. I just got done filming making sprouts without the conditioner. Takes about 3 to 5 days to get your good jar of sprouts. When I have it sitting on the conditioner, under 36 hours. And the first 12 hours,
oh my gosh.
So that I almost don't count that. The first 12 hours are, and then when I dump the water off, it literally was 24 hours.
Whoa,
that's a cool experiment. Yeah, I like that.
We'll be posting that very soon. So people want to see that, because we don't appreciate what we're doing to our bodies. For people who get to go out in a mountain range where there's no towers and no cell phone, they feel differently. When you go out to the ocean and put your feet in the ocean and those negative ions are bathing you, then you feel differently. But in our modern world, we're so inundated in these incoherent frequencies. They are not lining up with our body. They are not supporting our body's biology. We have to do something different. And these light towers are the best. And they're small. I'm getting ready to travel to Thailand in the morning. I will have my light tower with me, even on the plane. So it doesn't disrupt anything. You don't plug it in. There's no electricity involved. It's the plate itself that has been impregnated. And as long as you don't scratch it and use solvents on the surface area of it, it works all the time. You never have to recharge it or anything.
Oh, so
Very
easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very easy.
I love that.
And benefiting the pets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think everything that's good for us, avoiding toxins, EMFs, getting light, getting outdoors, of course, also good for the pets. But anything really specific, like Renee's cat, she thinks with the new carpet in her home, what would you say is like the most important in the home to optimize based on the pet's sort of inclinations and habits?
So your new carpets probably have formaldehyde in them and fire retardant, and those are very toxic. If you already have it there and you're not willing to rip it out, I'm not telling you to do that. But for people who are starting over again, then I would start with more biologically appropriate products. But if you already have it, then doing things to mitigate this conditioner, not the little one, but the conditioners that we have, actually changes the photons in the air quality. So that would help to dissipate some of the toxins that are being off-gassed from your carpet or whatever else that you have that was treated like that. Your beds, so I buy only organic beds and organic sheets, so it doesn't have all that in there.
Yeah. Luckily, my dog lays on the bed, which is all organic, rather than on the carpet.
Yeah.
But, you can't always control where they want to lay.
No, and if you don't want him laying physically on the carpet, if there were like literally something being absorbed through the skin, then you could put a little jacket of sorts on him so that his skin there's a barrier between what he's actually laying on and what his skin is coming in contact with. So that's like a little hack that you could do until, I don't know how long it takes for that to quit off gassing, but remember, you're breathing that as well.
A long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did a podcast recently, and the length of time that the off-gassing happens is mind-blowing. Too long.
Yeah. Probably longer than you'll be in the house.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The carpet will outlive us.
And you don't smell it. Well, sometimes you can get that new house smell, but for the most part, people, you don't see it, you're not tasting it, but it's so I doing the things like good air quality. There's other products that are air filters, that are constantly filtering the air in the room. Those are really good. The main things to dial in are the 6 steps. I can't say one is more important than the other because it's the synergy of all of them. What we really need is the paradigm shift. We need to quit looking for a pill for the ill and a diet for the disease and wanting that fix. And I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody. I'm really speaking to how we need to shift in and not be looking for the antibiotic to fix that and the steroid to fix that and the Apoquel to fix that. We have to fix it at the root cause, which means stop doing the things that are causing it.
Yeah.
I can't make it more simple than that. You have to just take of it, right?
Root cause medicine, functional medicine, the same in humans and pets. So, we'll put the link for the ebook in the show notes so people can definitely check that out and read more. I want to ask you a big question. Vaccines.
Okay.
If you can touch on that, I would just love your opinion because, so growing up, Lauren and I, we had 2 cats and they never had any health problems. They never were vaccinated. I think one was like 20, 21. The other one was 19 when they passed.
Yeah.
But now I am in Vegas. I have my 2 new cats. And when I go to the vet, they're like, oh, they're behind on the rabies vaccine and this vaccine. But usually when I take them, they're sick. So they say, okay, we won't vaccinate today, but next time we will. And then I'm afraid to go back. So what do you recommend?
Good instincts, Mama. I can't tell you how many people go to the vet with a sick animal and the vet still vaccinates them. It is appalling. So my view on vaccines, let's start with rabies, since we talked about that. That is a government regulated vaccine. So they do make a 3-year. The rules are in Florida that we can use a 1-year vaccine when they're above 4 to 6 months of age. And then they have to get a booster 1 year after that. This is the law. And then after in my practice, after they get that second booster, then it's every 3 years. And that's how it's labeled. We use mercury-free vaccines. We don't have adjuvants in our vaccines. So we don't vaccinate very much, but the ones that we do, we try to use the cleanest vaccines that are out there. So rabies is required by law. If somebody were to get bit by one of your animals and they are not vaccinated for rabies, they will take that animal. They have the legal right to confiscate the animal, euthanize it, and send the brain in for testing because it is a fatal disease to humans as well. So we take it really seriously. And for that, I would say minimal, just rabies, and it should be thimerosal free, which is mercury free, and you should be getting a 3-year vaccine so you don't have to go back. And if you extend a little bit past that, no one's going to come chasing you down, but you can stretch it out a little bit more and just know that you're not in compliance, but at least they're vaccinated. Truth be told, that vaccine, the first one, will guard them for lifetime. When we were in vet school, we were the guinea pigs. Now we're talking 40 years ago. So I'm out 40 years. So 4 on, so 44 years ago, they came into our, freshman classroom. And they said, we're going to vaccinate you all for rabies. And bless my soul, I had no idea. It's like, yeah, sure, there's my arm. So we got 2 vaccines. And we just 2 years ago, we had our titers tested through our Hillsborough County Association. My titers 42 years ago are still off the charts high. So yeah, so that it was a potent vaccine, and I'll probably have immunity for the rest of my life. I'm not into jabs. I don't believe in jabs. I believe in keeping the body healthy. What we do for our pets, distemper and parvo for the dogs, is if owners typically want to have something on board. So we vaccinate starting at 14 weeks of age. because then the maternal antibodies have left and that animal will receive that vaccine and get a booster to it. So we do it 14 weeks and then 16 weeks, and then we do a titer 2 weeks after that for distemper and parvo. If they are good, it's a 3-year vaccine. I won't vaccinate them again for 3 years. And then at the 3rd year, we start doing titers. And we see that these animals don't need to be boosted again for at least 5 to 9 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a very reasonable way to do it.
Yeah. So you are doing, you're giving them something to protect against distemper and parvo, because those are really big diseases that we used to see a lot of. Now I see 1 to 3 a year. So yes, we've done something to help lower that, unless it was just herd immunity that came, which I don't know, but we just don't see a lot of those cases anymore. And the ones that we do see are typically non-vaccinated. But to get 2 vaccines at a younger age and then just do titers after that, that's not that bad. I think the bigger question is when people are objecting to that, or flea products, but they're feeding kibble. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Where are your priorities? I understand that you don't want to add toxins, but do you realize that you're feeding the biggest level of toxins by feeding a kibble diet? So it's just educating people so that they realize that sometimes you have to pick your poison. Sometimes I live in Florida. We are the most endemic state for fleas and ticks. I mean, the fleas are so bad here that all the science and studies that are done within 50-mile radius of my house and my office.
Oh my gosh.
The flea populations here, it's just perfect conditions for them to replicate. We have new cycles of fleas every 14 days. It is perfect conditions. So do I want to tell my client to not use a topical flea product because it has a pesticide in it, but they're still feeding a kibble diet, right? I would pick my poison there, and I would say the amount of symptoms and agony that animal gets when they become flea allergic from the bite, it's miserable. They chew all their hair out. They can't stop chewing and licking. And then these people are coming in for all these other remedies to fix that. So what if we pick that one poison? Because remember, we do have an immune system that can handle a little bit, and then you don't get the flea infestation. So you don't develop the flea allergy, and you do all the other aspects to support the immune system. That just makes logical sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Quick follow-up. Flu shots? I've had vets try to push that. I'm like, does my dog get the flu?
I've never heard of that.
I was like, I don't think I want to do that.
It's very similar to the flu vaccine in humans because it does mutate. So by the time you do the vaccine, it's mutated to a new strain. I don't do flu shots. I work on supporting the immune system. I make sure our pets are healthy, right? So good gut health, good detoxification. I do want to hit detoxification before we get done to leave that in the picture. But again, we're using a vaccine that is supposed to prevent a disease. Well, vaccines don't prevent a disease. It stimulates the immune system. It educates the immune system so that when it sees that organism, it can mount a response quicker because now it does have the reserves to know who that enemy is. But they still get sick. They just won't get as sick.
Right.
So it's a fallacy to think that, oh, I'm going to get the jab and I'm going to be immune from any illness. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yes.
So it really comes back
you're
to
aligned.
If your immune system isn't competent, you'll die of the least little bit of anything because your immune system can't mount that response. That's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on stop doing the things that are causing the problem, get the right nutrition in, the right essential nutrients, heal the leaky gut, and then we start moving into detoxification. Because again, we've just changed our lifestyle so dramatically that it doesn't resemble what our ancestors did. For instance, we know movement is really important. How many dogs are doing high intensity exercise? Owner comes home, throws ball, maybe.
Zoomies.
Yeah, they may do the zoomies for a few minutes, but they typically go for a walk around the neighborhood. They're not jogging. They're not dead out running hard like a hit workout. They're not getting that. And cats the same way. If they were outside hunting, that'd be a different story, because you have to run from the predator, or you have to run from the neighborhood cat that's trying to beat you up. You have to chase down your food and pounce in order to get the bird or the rabbit or the whatever they're going to eat. But in our houses, they're not getting that kind of exercise. So when you don't move, your lymphatics get stagnant. And then we typically have things that we do that damage our fascia. So the fascia is all the space inside that nobody recognized. The lymphatics run through the fascia, but that fascia is critical for the movement of everything. Electron transport, it's negative ions, it's communication redox signaling, it's everything. When we do surgery, we go through that fascia and a scar forms when we get done, right? Or if you've injured yourself, or if you've had a blow to your side or your muscle that creates a little bit of inflammation and trauma, and you get some scar tissue formation in there, that blocks the movement of the fascia, it blocks the communication. So the other thing that I did co-created was a fascia decompression course for pet parents. And I created it with Deanna Hansen, who is the master of fascia in the world. And we created a pet program. And so that's available on my website. You don't need anything but your hands and your love and intention. And so pet parents doing that. I think that's one of the biggest biohacks I have, besides the 6 steps, is making sure that you're helping that animal have a healthy fascia.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to do that because I've tried to put my dog on a rebounder. He doesn't like it.
Yeah, big trampolines work a little bit better, but they don't like that motion at all.
No,
no. They help with the movement of lymphatic, but the fascia is different. The fascia, there's over time, our bodies are trying to be held in position. So we as upright individuals, as we get older, we have a tendency to start to fold in. We start to crunch down. You're compacting your abdomen, and the abdomen pooches out as a consequence. And so we become all knuckled over because our fascia is trying to hold us in stability. All the people that I'm talking human now, when they have back problems and that inflammation is just trying to grip and hold, that restricts the fascia. And the same thing happens for our pets. So with owners being able to do the fascia decompression at home, and we show how to do little guys and big guys, that aids in lymphatic movement, fascia decompression, the ability to detox better. So it all the way around helps the body function better.
Excellent.
I can't wait to do that.
I know,
yeah,
me too.
It's very fun. It's very fun. Do you want to, let me just cover the 6 organs of elimination real quick, and then we can, I know we might be getting.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we and our pets were designed by universal intelligence to have these 6 organs of elimination: the kidney, the colon, the lungs, the liver, the skin, and I'm going to say lymphatic / fascia. I'm going to kind of bundle them together. And when we overtax them, they don't work well. I just have a cancer case that came in recently, and the liver enzymes were almost non-measurable, really, really low. And the owners didn't realize that what that's meaning is that those cells aren't turning over. They're not active. They're not working. So now you have a liver that's in charge of doing massive amounts of functions. And it's just kind of going, I don't really feel like doing anything, because it's so overloaded with toxins and it can't get rid of them. So in my opinion, I think that the liver and the lymphatic / fascia are the 2 most important organs of elimination, because they do the heavy lifting. They're all important. We have to pee good, we have to breathe good, but the kidneys, we can support them with a lot of things, but the liver and the lymphatics, boy, they're the real heavy lifters.
Okay. So what else can we do for liver? I mean, I don't know. Can we do coffee enemas on our doggies?
We do. Yes, you're right, because you're stimulating glutathione production when you're doing the coffee enema. But things like ozone, and I am a proponent of having owners able to do ozone at home. It can be abused. So we want to make sure if you are the pet parent that's going to do that, do work in conjunction with a qualified integrative veterinarian so that you don't cause harm.
Is that like an IV, ozone IV or injections?
Rectal.
Oh,
Yeah.
rectal.
It's the
Okay.
machine that produces the gas, and then you put the gas in through a little catheter rectally. That's the number one where pet parents will use it. They could also get a glass flask, and they could bubble the ozone through a water medium, and then they can use that for lavaging and rinsing and that kind of stuff. So those are two good, really functional ways that people can use ozone at home, and it's very affordable. And you can use it yourself. How cool is that? And then hyperbaric oxygen, I think, is another really, really important component. And these units now that we have soft-sided chambers, they're down in a reasonable range of purchase. So now it becomes something that's affordable. It's less than a vacation. I'm very practical, so you guys don't giving me hate mail, but when people tell me they can't afford something and you see what they're spending their money on, it's going out to eat, it's buying frivolous things that really break down and they don't need anymore. There's a lot of wasteful spending that we're doing. And if we just consciously say, okay, I'm going to take a majority of the money that I'm really spending that isn't really getting me down the road healthy wise, and I put that into a little kitty, before long, you've saved up enough money to be able to do these modalities. So those are my biohackers for pet parents. And then of course, frequency and vibration plates and all the things that are going to help rebalance the body. And I'm going to come back to the EMF one, because these light towers are so powerful to help condition the home and the people and the pets that are in it. It's not going to go away. 5G towers are not going to go away.
Getting worse.
Love to see that,
6G.
right? It's going to get worse. And the smart appliances and our cell phones, and I'm on a computer right now. This happens to not be hardwired because I don't have a cable here. If I was home, I would. I'm in my office. And so we have to think smarter than what's happening around us. So we have to be proactive to do things that are going to help support our body's biology, and mitigating EMF and incoherent light is huge.
Yeah.
Thank you for
We're all gonna
circling back to
benefit.
that. My dog can have every last dollar that I have. I want him to live forever. Just circling back to the HBOT, would you take the pet into the HBOT, like do it together, family activity? I can't imagine my dog would do it alone.
Usually we do in the beginning, like we'll dive with our pet parent, with our pets in the beginning. And then by the second or third time that they go in, I have videos of larger dogs jumping into the hyperbaric chamber. We just open the lid and they just jump in because
they know what it feels like.
They're relaxed, they're sleeping, it's very parasympathetic. It's wonderful. I love going in. Any excuse I have to get in the chamber, I do it too. Because it's just how it increase oxygen, it helps you to relax, it has so many functions. And when you come out of that hyperbaric chamber, you need to go pee. So it's helping to filter more of those toxins out of your body and pee them down the toilet.
Yes. Love that. Okay.
I can
so much fabulous
I can see Rudy now being like, oh, mom, I don't need you. I got my HBOT session. Bye, mom. See you in an hour.
Yeah. But when they get relaxed and it feels good to them, they have no problem with it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I'm sure there's so much more we could cover, but you have fabulous resources on your website. So we'll encourage our audience. Can you just, so we have the fascia course, you have a blog, you have the store with raw food, supplements, anything I'm missing?
And products, spas, family wellness centers, please, opens next year. And these are detox centers for pets and their parents.
Where are they opening?
Well, the first one is in my office right now, but then we're building an independent building, and that will represent spas. And that's where people can come with their pets and go through the whole process of not only fascia decompression, lymphatic therapy, but all of the detoxification modalities. So you start out going into a machine that helps you go parasympathetic, and then you go all the way around the circuit. We have salt therapy, we have cold plunge, and just a lot of things that just help the body to detoxify and improve and get healthier.
Oh my gosh. Exciting. Yeah, I love that. Oh,
yeah.
I want to take my kitties to the spa.
Yes, and you get to be the bystander. You're the byproduct, because you have to drive them. But it's really wonderful when we learn how to take care of our bodies. It makes such a huge difference. And as I round 70, I realized
No
that,
way.
oh yeah, real way.
Oh my
You look
gosh.
amazing.
This
Yes, you
is my
do.
Earth suit, and it's the only one I get. So I want to take care of it. And everything that I do, I am thinking of my cells. I'm thinking about my biochemical pathways in a good way. And I'm saying, if I eat that, is that going to support my body, or is it going to create inflammation? Now I'm a little stuffy right now, and it's because I had to participate in a holiday and I ate some gluten, and gluten just sets me off. And I knew I did it, and I have to heal my gut because of that. But in general, I'm very mindful of what I eat, what I put on my skin, my exercise routine, my EMF protection. I live the principles that I just gave you guys. I live them every day, even down to, I do ozone on myself. Because I'm leaving for Thailand in the morning, I was doing 2 days on, a day off, 2 days on, a day off of rectal ozone, just to boost my body up. I make a lot of tinctures. We make elderberry vinegar and elderberry tinctures and olive leaf. And so I would say oregano too. I would say there are so many things that we can do in the world to be healthier and to teach our children that they're going to take over after us, and we don't want to leave them a mess, right? We have to start cleaning this up now. And it starts with appreciating our bodysuits, appreciating the world around us, having gratitude for the opportunities. And instead of looking at all of the bad things that are going on in the world, what if we use that as contrast? So I'm seeing a lot of evil things that bad people are trying to put on the world. Rather than become a victim to that, I'm going to set all my energy towards finding solutions so that I become empowered to be able to live the life that I want to live, and the people around me and the world. And that's my mission. I just want to inspire people to take back your power. We do have that. We just have given a lot of it away.
Yeah. You are
Yeah.
such an inspiration.
Thank you.
So we just love what you're doing. Thank you for helping. I mean, you're helping a lot with human health, but especially our babies. So I want to just ask one final question. Maybe just one thing for the pet parents. What should they do today as soon as they turn this podcast off?
Take the Empowered Pet Parent course. And I'm not
Okay.
saying that lightly. I really mean it. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're going. And there's so much noise out in the world, like all this stuff on social media, and we're bombarded with commercials, and there's just so much information that people go into analysis paralysis. What I did is I created a step-by-step program that educates people. So now you're not out there being lured by the dangling object because somebody said something different. You have knowledge. You can make an empowered decision. And now you're going to be able to say no to the things that are not supporting your pet. You're the only advocate they have. You need to be their hero, which means you get educated. What does that mean? What does that look like? And I'd say that would be my first step. And it's very inexpensive. It's a small investment, way cheaper than trying to fix dis-ease afterwards. And then I want to also say, how do we put that into action? Because again, analysis paralysis can become so overwhelming, and it's a 3-hour course, and it is a boatload of information. Where do you start? You take a piece of paper and you fold it in half. Column A on one side, column B on the other. And as you're learning, whether it's my course or anything else that you're learning from this podcast, you're writing down on column A all the things that you should be doing, but you're not doing them yet. Column B are all the things you've learned not to do, but you're still doing them because you haven't learned a substitute yet. And then when that list may never be complete, but you got your list to start with, and you pick one thing from column A to start until it becomes who you are. And you take one thing from column B and you stop doing it. And
That's great.
Yeah, and it's easy. We can all do one thing. And then when that becomes comfortable, then you do another thing, and you just keep building your repertoire of your life. You're literally laying out the blueprint of who your life is going to be. And you affect yourself, you affect your family, you affect your pets, you affect all your people that you are posting about, and posting to. So you never realize how big of a ripple. I want to go from a little tiny ripple. I want to move into a tsunami of change. I want people everywhere in the world to realize that they have the power. They just need to choose to use it. And once we understand what we need to do, it's super easy to implement.
It's a great strategy. Yeah, I'm going to use that for a lot of things in life. And I'm going to do the course. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Siegel, for sharing this with our audience. We're so grateful for you.
Well, I'm grateful to people like you, our tribe, our family, for speaking up, for getting information out to the people that need it. So kudos, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Team effort.
Much love.
much love. And thanks to everyone that tuned in today. We will see you next time.